Welcome to Digital Twin Podcast. Today we'll talk about Industry 4.0. Stay tuned. Digital Twin Podcast is a place where technology and business is going hand in hand.
If you are thinking about digitalizing your company, you found the right place.
Podcast is hosted by Adrian Stelmach, consultant who implements IT solutions for manufacturing companies.
And Paul Pachowicz, industrial digitalization expert, who helps global companies to optimize production processes. Yes, Industry 4.0 or maybe 5.0. Why are we even talking about the difference between 4.0 and 5.0? I believe most manufacturing plants are still somewhere between 2 and 3. Some of them are already using the 4.0 implementations, technologies. And why are we talking about 4.0 and possibly 5.0? Is it the time to switch to 5.0?
Yeah, Industry 4.0, the first definition, I think it was from 2009, I guess. And 5.0, the first definitions were between, I think, 2017. So it was like 8 years after. So in terms of the history in previous industrial revolutions, 8 years, it's not that much of a difference, especially if someone is looking for movies which are like from 8 years ago and current ones. 8 years ago, we already had iPhones, right? So if you see a movie like which was made like 15 years ago, you see the difference that someone is having those, big Nokia phones and so on, and now it's way different. But 8 years, it's not.
Sure, but I wanna check your facts.
Okay. Okay.
Because the Industry 4.0.
Yeah.
You said that was mentioned in 2009.
Yeah.
Okay. According to my research. And my best friend ChatGPT-4.
Okay.
It was introduced at the Hanover Fair, in Germany, but 2011.
Oh, maybe it was 2011, but I'm pretty sure that was because after that there was a book which was created by Charles Schwab. From World Economic Forum. He defined a lot of things related with Fourth Industrial Revolution. But the definition, first became at Hanover.
Yeah. Okay, so
but let's go to the point. Let's go to the point. What actually Industry 4.0 means? What kind of technologies are there? Maybe we can just.
What does it mean? What does it mean to you? And then maybe I can say what it means to me. The 4.0, for some reason, I always think when I think of 4.0, Industry 4.0, I always think about IoT devices.
Okay.
And that kind of sums it's all, but the IoT devices, help us with using machine learning, analyzing big data, cloud computing. And then this could be, applied in any sector of any sector of economy. But I'm pretty sure that you have a different opinion about Industry 4.0.
Of course, IoT devices is a part of the Industry 4.0 revolution. At least we define it like that. But for sure, you need data to conclude from artificial intelligence or for some business intelligence systems and so on. But not all of this data have to came from IoT devices, I would say, right?
Sure. So not IoT devices. Then what?
IoT devices gives you like a second layer of information, right? Because of that, those devices are connected to each other and connected to the network, which data is combined in some kind of server. It means that they can communicate between each other, not using the server. and also they can give you a more information that's standard sensors. Like for example, they can give you information about the state of the device, right? If it's working currently or not, right?
And that was impossible before. So the devices did exist in the past, but they were not able to communicate to each other. They were only able to communicate to one device that would just collect all the information from them, but they were not able to talk to each other. That's the
definition of IoT. Yeah, that's the definition of the Internet of Things. It means that the things. So, for example, sensors, but not only sensors. But if you talk about manufacturing, we're talking about mostly sensors are connecting and they can communicate between each other, not using a third party.
Right. So we did talk about Industry 4.0 in the previous episode. All the industries basically, 1 to 4. So how about we start with a short maybe summary of the previous episode, and then we'll dive deep into 4.0, 5.0. Maybe there's something in the middle.
Yeah, I think we should talk about all of the technologies which are in this Industry 4.0. What are they? What does it mean? And maybe we can debate which are more important and which are less. You talk about IoT already.
Yes,
it was interesting talk, but there's much more, I think. To make a short summary, I would say that if someone wants to see what was the history of industrial revolutions, we talked about in the previous episode. So we talk about how we began in 18th century industrial first revolution and came to 4.0 like a few years ago. And what are the things which all of those revolutions have in common, and what was the impact in the global civilizations?
Okay, sure. So I did start with the IoT because, my opinion, it's like something that enabled all the other ones. But no, okay.
For me, no.
Okay, so
but that's good because we can debate about it.
It's all started like whenever I look at company that wants to digitalize, right? And then like anything that you do, if you're trying to figure it out, if marketing, sales, and other department is working properly, you need data. You need to measure it, and you need to collect it, and then analyze it. Same thing with industrial digitization for me. If you do not have access to data, if those IoT devices do not provide you with the data or don't talk to each other, there's I don't know how to start.
But you don't need IoT devices for that, because sensors since the 70s give you the same information, which you can conclude. You can have a lot of different information you can gather.
How do you gather the information?
Without IoT devices, the same way you have with IoT devices.
What do you mean? Like, how do you do it? Like, you get the information out of the PLCs, or how do you collect the information?
Okay, so how do you collect the information from IoT devices? This is the question. The same thing as you collect in the other devices. You have to connect to the sensor.
So the only difference for IoT is that they can talk to each other.
Not, as I said before, you have two benefits, the main ones, right? IoT devices give you a second layer. So first of all, you can access to some of them, which we know from our lives every single day. We can access to them remotely, for example. So we can connect it to not only to industrial network or on our internet, but we can also have access to them from the internet. In manufacturing, it's not if you consider cybersecurity issue, it's not common to connect the devices to the internet like sensors and so on, right? Because it's very dangerous and the data is very valuable. So first thing is that you can connect the devices to the internet. This is the first thing. The second thing is that you can have actually more information that's standard information from the sensor, related especially with diagnostics. And the second thing is that to control something, you don't need to have a central controller, but the devices can communicate to each other, which makes you, which creates a network with the devices, which not necessarily have to be centralized. This is the gain. But you know, the benefits of IoT devices, you can see in a very, I would say, for example, in agriculture, right? If you have a very big scaled place, IoT devices can benefit a lot. But if you have a manufacturing company, you know, which machines are, you know, next to each other, you don't see that much of a benefit of an IoT device.
Sure. So you didn't like my idea about IoT devices.
I not agree with that this is the most important technology.
Okay, what is the most important technology?
I think we talked about it in the previous episode, like, because you should ask question what boosted all of those, what those technologies have in common, right? IoT devices uses internet or intranet, like a network, right? And this is a source of data, but this is not only source of data. You have zillion other source of data in every company as well. So for me, network and communication between different devices and between people, and synchronization between people and machines and sensors, this is the foundation for Industry 4.0.
What do you mean, like the relationship between people and devices, or?
Yeah.
Can you explain it so I can disagree with you?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Just kidding.
Of course. Yeah, because you know, if you think about what Industry 4.0 beside technology gives to the to all of us, it is the way that we can actually cooperate with the technological at the same time. I mean, we don't have to do action and wait for the reaction. We can do action with robotics, for example, in the same time, right? And this is what is the difference in 4.0 and, for example, 3.0, where you had sensors as well, and you gathered data as well. First ERP systems came from, for example, third industrial revolution, not the fourth one.
Okay, what else then?
Okay,
because I don't want to say anything because you'll criticize my idea.
No, we are debating.
So you go. So
no, it's not about criticism.
I'm just
like,
kidding.
I'm just saying that all of those technologies are in the same level, right?
Sure.
IoT is necessary, but not necessary everywhere. The same as artificial intelligence, right? So the second one would be artificial intelligence for me. And the artificial intelligence, as it's being said, it's a way that not humans are actually doing, inventing things or making decisions or conclusions which are made without using human brains, right?
Yeah. So, like, according to your experience, what kind of decisions and what percentage of decisions are possible to make through the AI technology? Because, you know, some of it they still have to be done by people, but like an example of, let's say that we are talking about this industrial environment, what kind of decisions are made by AI?
Okay, so I can give you an example with predictive maintenance, for example, right? To predict if some machine or some device will be broken, you need to have data, of course, not necessarily from IoT devices, but in general, you need to have a lot of data to see historically what moments in the past made the machine to get break, right? For example, same in the car, right? We also change all like once in 15,000 kilometers and so on. And we also have sensors which are saying, okay, now it's
not IoT devices, but sensors.
Yeah, sensors.
Okay.
And the question was, so if you have predictive maintenance, you gather those data, and after that, there have to be some conclusion making. So you have to find those points of common points, right? So it could be done but by people. So someone just take and create some charts from it and do the analytics. But it also can be done with artificial intelligence, and in the end, it will be the same thing.
Sure. What is the decision-making process? So let's say that we have sensors and IoT devices, which are my favorite, and then they collect different kind of parameters, right? So maybe this item vibrates a little more than it's supposed to. Maybe the temperature is higher. The different kind of things that is being measured. And then for people that don't really know how this can work, what happens? Like, let's say that all this information is collected, and then is there some kind of algorithm that is looking at the data and it's like, okay, I have to warn people working in the company that all those numbers that I'm looking at, they maybe say that this particular machine or device will break. Is that how it works, or the AI can just make the decision and shut it down? How does it work?
You described not necessarily a situation with AI will be like a beneficial one, right? Because in a simple terms, if you have only few sensors, you don't need exactly artificial intelligence to make the conclusions. You just need normal algorithms for that, which will check different stages of, and we'll just compare those stages with the stages where the normally machine breaks or something happens, which you want to catch up, right? But artificial intelligence could be used in an environment where there's a lot of way more different variables, not only variables related with those sensors, but also environmental variables, right? So this is the first difference.
Like what? Because this is,
for example, you have winter and you have summer, right? In some countries like Central Europe, and so your machine can work differently in winter, and it could work differently in summer. So that's an environmental change, which of course you can make an algorithm, few algorithms which you will use in a different in winter and in summer, but also you can use artificial intelligence to make the conclusion, and it will automatically know what kind of situations we're dealing with, right? So this is like a simple example, but those environmental, it could be a lot of different things, right?
Okay, so let's say this example is more advanced and complicated, and so this is not just few sensors that are located on the device and they collect data, because then you say it's too easy, right? They wouldn't need AI.
It
right?
depends on the application, right?
Yeah,
because AI, have to learn from a lot of different scenarios, and after that it can conclude. But if the scenarios are repetitive, you don't exactly need AI for that, right?
Sure.
You can, but if, of course, for example, because we will talk about big data as well. So big data could be connected with artificial intelligence, and then it would make sense.
Sure.
Because big data is, like a basket with a lot of different information from different sources.
But before we talk about big data,
okay,
maybe there is space to talk about robotization and is that okay, or the big data is more important?
Again, I'll not say which technology is more important, because it depends on a specific strategy of a business. Someone would say, okay, why I need for my e-commerce company, why do I need robotics? Maybe you don't need, or maybe you need artificial intelligence more. So all of them are in the same level. We can disagree or agree what are in the foundation of that and what is what they have in common. But I will not say big data is more important than robotics. It depends on business.
Sure. So let's talk about the robotics and automation of not processes, but certain tasks during the production. The benefits of automation, I mean, or robotization, it seems pretty obvious. It's probably faster, more efficient. It's safe for people that don't have to do it, but the robotic arm is kind of doing their work. Anything else?
I would say we can talk about what actually changed since the third industrial revolution, because robotics, automation, we know it since like 70 or more years. Even Henry Ford, like more than 100 years ago, used some kind of automation, an assembly line, for example. But current robotics, it cooperates with people, so it's much more safe than the ones which were like 70 or 60 years ago. Also, they are more adjustable, I would say. So we can do a lot of different things with the same robot, and using also some other, IoT sensors or other kind of sensors and artificial intelligence. Robotics can actually adjust to a different environments and also a different products as well. So we don't need 10 robots, for example, to do a specific thing or change the program every single time, or algorithm or recipe. We can do it with the same robot.
Sure. So you did mention AI, and not the AI, but the big data, right? So that would be the next element that requires us to talk about it. So the data that we have collected through IoT devices or maybe some other sensors, now we have the ability to analyze it and draw conclusions. And that was not really possible in 3.0, in Industrial Revolution 3.0, and it just became possible in 4.0.
No, we cannot, mislead, and there's a difference between data and gathering data from different sources and big data, right? Like 70 years ago, as I said, we already have computers, we already had algorithms also for artificial intelligence, and we also had robotics, but the change is that currently we can gather a lot of different information and much, you can say, faster from different devices and from different sensors than it was before. So, for example, if you measure a temperature, now you can measure a temperature like every 10 milliseconds, right? And you can ask, okay, it doesn't matter, like 10 milliseconds.
It does.
If you think about temperature of a room which we are sitting in, it doesn't matter probably, because the temperature will not change that dramatically in such short term. But if you think about manufacturing industry, and if you think about specific pasteurization processes and so on, then it could matter much more.
Sure. So collecting data and analyzing data was possible, but we did not have that much data, right? So
we couldn't gather that much data.
Yeah, we were unable to gather all the data, and then if we couldn't gather the data, we couldn't analyze it, we couldn't draw conclusions. Okay, so that's done. How about the cloud technology?
Yeah, the cloud technology also is important, especially if you use it with different things like artificial intelligence or big data, for example. Because in simple terms, cloud technology, everyone are using it. If you use Netflix, you use cloud technology. If you use Google Drive or iCloud or whatever, you use cloud technology, because it means that you outsource from a physical device, from your computer or server, the possibility to storage the data or the possibility to compute. So you use outsource computing power in cloud computing or other cloud storage.
Okay, and that enables companies that, so they don't have to invest a lot of money in hardware.
Yeah,
they can use it as a service, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It gives you a few things. First of all, you don't need to buy infrastructure for the future, right? 10 times more bigger than it is currently, because you can just buy the infrastructure on demand, which you need right now, and like tomorrow you can make a bigger one, right?
Yeah, you can decrease it or you can increase it.
Exactly.
Right?
You just have what you need. Second thing is the costs, right? Because It's the same if we think about buying one car versus buying 10,000 cars, right? If you're buying 10,000 cars and you order 10,000 cars, of course the one car, if it will be much cheaper from those 10,000s than a single one which you buy, right?
Sure.
So it's the same with the computing power.
Sure. Yeah, so it's just easier. If we're talking about digitalization of manufacturing, this actually kind of makes this process more flexible, right? Yeah. So you still have to plan, but maybe you don't have to plan that much, and in so many details, and then maintain the infrastructure, which is also.
Yeah, the maintenance is also easy, but the backuping process is much more easy because you're actually doing it. You don't need to stop anything. If there's a problem, you can simply switch with the infrastructure to the other replicated one. There's a lot of benefits. Of course, there's a problem with cybersecurity issue, and I think it's the next technology which we should, I think, mention, because if this is not inside of you, in-house, you can say it means that it have to be connected to the internet, and of course, if it's connected to internet, if you don't have internet, you don't have access to the cloud, for example.
Sure. So that's a disadvantage, right? Of collecting the data and uploading them to cloud, that if for some reason you lose this connectivity, then you basically cannot access the data. But what about the fact that this data could be very sensitive, right?
Yeah.
And then how do you kind of look at the cybersecurity for manufacturing? Let's say that you are a digitalized company and you have all the information in cloud. How do you kind of protect yourself from cyber attacks, or how do you make sure that all the information are safe in the cloud?
I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but in general, you can say you have to be secured with different firewalls, which are hardware firewalls and software firewalls, and the different layers of information. Also, if you gather information, usually in manufacturing, you also have something which is called not false strategy. So you have a strategy, for example, what will be done if the internet is shut down, right? What will happen? So for example, you can have a local computer which gathers all of the information. Or you have an in-house infrastructure. Also, you can have a cloud which is actually maintained internally. It doesn't have to be external cloud. You can have internal cloud. Of course, it's much more expensive to maintain and to set up. But there's there's ways for that.
Yeah. So anything else before we consider Industry 4.0? Anything else that we like to address here?
Different technologies?
Yeah. In terms of 4.0.
Yeah. I think there's more, much more. For example, blockchain is one of them, right? I think it's a technology which is less common right now in manufacturing. So blockchain is like a way you gather information as well, but in a way that it cannot be edited, you can say. Right?
Sure. There's like a lot of different people trying to explain what blockchain is, and some of them are doing a good job, some of them are not doing a good job.
Yeah.
If you were to explain it in the most simple way, because it seems obvious, like it's just information that is like distributed, and then if you own a piece of that information, you cannot change it because all the other people that have access to the same information will know that you changed something, right?
Yeah, it's like a decentralized ledger, right? So you have a ledger when you can add some information, but you cannot change those information because it's decentralized and it's in 100,000 of different computers, for example, as you said. So
so that's the most understandable way of explaining it is like there's let's say 5, 10, 100, 200 people or computers that they have access or they looking at the same thing, and if one of those 100 people changes something, it will be visible to all the other people in the network, right? Like, I mean, I'm just looking for the most.
It could not be changed because the network will see that, okay, one of the changed and the other ones didn't. So we have to cut out this one who changed it.
In order for that piece of information to change, all 100 people would have to change it, right?
Yeah, in general terms, yeah.
Okay. So maybe if like the most important, technologies for the 4.0, I believe we have discussed.
Yeah, I would add the VR, for example, and AR. So maybe in few words, just because all.
Sure. I mean, I see there's the demand for it. It's growing. I mean, the metaverse didn't really work super well, but yet it will come back for sure. Yeah. But like in terms of manufacturing, I've seen different ideas of how to use AR, VR, and for some reason it's not that popular yet, right? Because it's very useful and it can save you time and money. I've seen ways of creating a workspace for people working at the manufacturing, like creating a manufacturing production line, and then actually being able to access it, and kind of figure out if all the elements of that production line are accessible to your hand, if they are not too far away, that you can actually have an experience when creating this manufacturing line without actually creating this manufacturing line. And
but you're talking about virtual reality, right? Yeah.
I mean, I know there are solutions like that. I have seen them, and that seems unbelievable. Like you can actually start onboarding people before, like onboarding, like showing them their workspace before this workspace actually exists.
Yeah, that's a connection with digital twin, right? Because you can have a digital twin of a factory, and then you can actually visit this digital twin by using VR glasses. Yeah,
sure. So anything else about?
Yeah, I think AR glasses are more common, I would say, or more you can imagine how they work, because AR, the difference is that in VR you see a different world surrounding you. It's a virtual world. But AR, it's a real world, world which you see on your eyes, but there's a second layer for it. So for example, you look at the machine and you see actual OE of this machine. You could, if you have this kind of glasses. And I think it will be very helpful for maintenance, for example, in the future, or to just see the information much faster than we look at, for example, in the reports on the visualization screens.
Okay. Yeah. So what you're saying is that you can have this AR glasses. Yeah. And let's say that you are the plant manager, right? You have those glasses and you're just walking around, looking at different equipment, and you know that this piece of equipment has that OEE KPI, right? And some others have different, so you can make decisions and then compare it real fast, right?
Yeah, it means that you see information faster, right? Because you see those things on reports, but since you've seen it, until you make a conclusion, until you actually connect those dots together, it is some time. But here with AR, you see this in real time, right? Yeah. So you see exactly, okay, this machine, this thing, this place,
and
right?
And then you're looking at the machine that the OEE is super low. Yeah. And then you see 5 people standing there doing nothing. So maybe you can, start, fixing it faster, right?
Yeah. Or for example, for maintenance, right? If you think about maintenance, let's say that machine is broken, right? And you have those AR glasses. When you see the exact instruction on one of your eyes, which tells you what to do, like in every single step.
So it's like technical documentation that is kind of built in, like software that has access to technical documentation, so you don't have to go and look, how to solve this, but you can solve it right away. Beautiful. So, is it the time?
Okay. There's more, but okay, we can.
No,
we can skip it.
that's a question.
Okay.
Is it the time
Okay.
for us
Mm-hmm.
to start talking about Industry 5.0?
Sure.
Because I think it's the time.
Okay.
Because we spoke about it was really good, to discuss the 4.0 as, it's still, it's so advanced that most companies are not using, the AR, VR, whatever we were talking about. But why do we even need 5.0? What's wrong with 4.0? Most companies didn't even implement everything that they could within 4.0. Why are we talking about 5.0?
This is a good question, right? I think if you ask me if we are actually experiencing right now the fifth industrial revolution, I would say not necessarily, because I don't see like common ground for a lot of different things which are boosting even the industry more than it was like 2, 3, or 10 years ago. Maybe artificial intelligence and using it in our daily lives will actually change that. I think, and it could be a foundation, and we can just take this artificial intelligence from the fourth industrial revolution and just build surrounding a lot of different things, which we will say, okay, those things. This is like a fifth industrial revolution, and in the foundation we have the fourth one. So yeah, I think it will be the future like that. It will look like that.
So I don't think, or maybe the other way around. Do you think that there will be a revolution, or it will be an evolution from the 4.0 to 5.0?
In some point, of course, it will be a revolution there. But when it will be, it's hard to say, because every time we talk about industrial revolution after a while, it's not like, okay, now we are in no one said that during the time of inventions. After a while, we see, that, okay, there's different things, but they have something in common. So now we are talking about revolution, but currently I don't see it right now. But I think the booster will be artificial intelligence.
Okay, because it seems like there's always a technological breakthrough whenever we are experiencing industrial revolution. So it feels that the AI is like the one thing that is gonna change everything. But for the result of that becoming more and more popular and available for everyone and implemented in manufacturing it, let's say, we probably have to wait a couple of years, right?
Yeah, I think couple of years is a good sentence, because I don't think we have to wait like 50 years or something like that. But I think because year 2023, you can surely say that this is an artificial intelligence year. We see hundreds of applications doing in different things, and we are using it every day. And the question is, what will be next, right? What will be the next level of
6.0? I'm just kidding. But let's do some takeaways.
Yeah.
To sum it up.
Sure.
You want to go first?
I can go first.
I can go first.
Okay, you can go first.
Because we are focusing so much on industrial aspect of those revolutions, but then they affect people. So I would say that what's most interesting to me, that this revolution, the 5.0, the 4.0 that is in the process of becoming 5.0 because of AI. I think that the AI factor will affect us people in terms of super personalized education. And then I know it's not too much related to manufacturing, but whenever I think of collecting the data and creating algorithms that are enabling a lot of things, I think we all learn differently, right? and the power behind AI would be that there could be like custom, custom systems of education that are, custom built especially for you as Adrian, right? Or especially for me as Paul. So the Industrial Revolution, started, and it will be more and more AI implementations, but the result would be that we can learn faster, and we can learn the way that is our I don't know how to call it, but the easiest way that we can learn. So it would be like custom tailored for our specific needs. So that's my takeaway.
Okay. I would say that, every industrial revolution or every technological revolution gives foundation for the next ones. So we can agree or disagree that there is a fifth industrial revolution right now, or is it artificial intelligence or not. It will be the next one. But either way, artificial intelligence needs foundations from the fourth industrial revolution and from the third one. So whatever it will be in the future, for sure it will use the entire global civilization heritage. So yeah,
sure. So we are in the process of adapting AI, so we can accelerate and finally start talking about Industry 5.0. Okay, thank you very much, and I guess I will see you, and I will see you next week.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.